product offering, which is Equity Opportunity Series 2. It's a product idea which has stemmed from the fact that the economic environment in India is bottoming out. We have seen a period when growth has been extremely modest and deteriorating. The result of this has been that the capital efficiency or the return on capital employed for the Indian corporate sector, as represented by the BSE 500 set of companies, is at an all-time low. The return on equity is not even enough to cover the cost of capital for these companies. The spread between the cost of capital and ROE, thus today, is at its lowest historical levels. In such a case, there is absolutely no incentive for the corporate sector to embark upon fresh capex. Now, if this is going to be the scenario, and as new supply dwindles, we enter into a period of consolidation. A period of consolidation is where mortality risk induced by high macroeconomic risk is high, as a result of which a lot of inefficient players get eliminated from the system. That's point number one. Point number two, as supply dwindles, over a period of time, capacity utilization improves, and that in turn leads to improvement in the return ratios of the underlying company. So what we are saying here is that, as we don't see incremental triggers of growth in the next couple of years, we will undergo a phase of consolidation in the Indian environment. In this phase of consolidation, very few companies which have the balance sheet strength, companies which have a very strong operating matrix, will be able to navigate this tough operating environment. If we are able to identify and aggregate a portfolio of companies which will be able to successfully navigate this period of consolidating growth environment, these are the companies who will have a disproportionate share of the underlying profit pool as it exists at the end of this tenure. So all we are looking for is companies who have assets on the ground, who will be better able to sweat their assets, or who will be able to generate more profitability from the assets on the ground, which will drive ultimately the return ratios for this company. So these are the companies, if I were to coin a term, these are the companies which have very strong inherent operating leverage embedded in their business model. Now, there can be various triggers for operating leverage. Trigger number one can be higher capacity utilization. Now, the question may be that if growth is going to be slow, from where will incremental capacity utilization come? The answer to this question is that, in a very, very stressed economic environment, the inefficient player or the unorganized segment completely gets eliminated from the system. So market share, companies with a strong business model, with a good cost structure or a low cost structure stands to benefit. They gain market share, and hence they are better able to utilize their assets. The second, trigger for operating leverage could be companies sweating their assets towards a better value mix. So instead of selling a low-end product, the same assets and with the same cost structure, if they are able to sell a higher value-added product where margins are better, all that translates directly into profitability. In that case also, the profit growth is much higher than your top line or asset growth, and that's another form of operating leverage. The third, as I mentioned in my opening remarks, is the real consolidation on ground. So the case in point is the telecom industry. Last year, we saw cancellation of licenses of about in 122 circles. Now, as these players got eliminated from the system, the fragmentation of the industry reduced, and there was consolidation. Pricing power did come back to the incumbents, and we did see average revenue per user for the telecom industry, for the leading players, go up. All that came at no incremental cost, and all that did flow down as far as the profitability is concerned. So to summarize, this is a diversified closed-ended product. It's a 3-year product, and it's a portfolio which is anchored around a consolidating growth environment. In a consolidating growth environment, companies which have a very strong balance sheet, companies who have a very strong operating matrix, tend to do well. They tend to take market share away from people whose cost structure and whose capacities cannot work in such a tough working environment. These are companies who have a good product, who by virtue of their product mix, can improve profitability. These are companies who ultimately will have a high share of the profit pool. They are the companies who will gain market share at the end of the cycle. It's a portfolio which endeavors to create about a portfolio of 25 to 30 such companies, which will be successfully able to navigate this tough growth environment in the coming times. Thank you.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.